So I can't say anything. I can't say anything that I just
So Manoj, so anyway, so Manoj is going to entertain us this evening, I feel.
I think Shelly is going to leave the room
Shri,
now
do
for an hour.
you need some water?
I've just recovered from a bad spell of cough.
Okay.
And any laughter kind of triggers it off again.
No, I was going to ask, how are you doing now? Better?
No, I'm better. It's almost 98% out. The cough is 98% out.
Yeah, awesome.
How do you reach that number, 98%? Why not 99 or 97?
It's called subjective units of distress.
There you go.
So it's just a subjective number.
Let me see if I can spell that.
Subjective numbers of distress.
Subjective units of distress. SUDS. Okay. We call it SUDS in EFT.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. Never heard of it, but I'm glad I have now.
Yeah.
So, Manoj.
Yeah, I wanted to say, since a month, I'm especially now with the COVID situation and everything, right? You're really going through, at least myself, business challenges, difficulties, call it whatever you want, right? Because I already know my business is coming down 50% next year. But here's the funny part. I don't know if it's experience. I don't know if it's, that we've been through it all in 2008, right? But it's like I'm more calm, or I don't know if it's the meditation you told me to start a month back. I am a Brahman, I am, right?
Yep.
So I don't know if it's that or what, but
have you been doing that?
So much. I told you, I downloaded an audio every morning, 5 minutes before going to sleep. And I don't know if it's that or going back to the roots. You remember Earl Nightingale, right? One of the first, personal development guys who used to talk about whatever you think you will become, right? Yeah. So I don't know if it's like going back to the roots, and now going back to the roots is working for me. So my mind is so much more calm. We're all facing difficulties now with the COVID, right? But it's like you face it, it's there, and suddenly you're like, okay, what can I do about it, rather than letting it freeze you. So that's I don't know if it's happening to you guys, but really it's surprising.
So it's interesting you mentioned Earl Nightingale.
Why?
Well, that's great, but it's interesting you mentioned. And it says my internet connection is unstable. Let me see. It's got 4 bars. This is a new Wi-Fi system, so if it drops out, let me know and I'll go back on my phone. So we're moving. Obviously, we've moved, and I'm setting up this office in this creative space here in the house. And the CD box set of Earl Nightingale fell out of a box and dropped on the floor the other day. No shit. So
you still got that?
I still got it. And I was like, I haven't heard that. I haven't listened to that for 5 years. But can you remember the story? One of the main stories in that?
I don't know. He talks. I've got just a 35-minute audio.
Yeah.
Which is a summary, and he just talks. 3, 4, 5 different stories, right? I don't know which one you would be.
About the guy. There was the guy. Let me just change because I can't see Sheree here. There you go. I can see you all now. So the story goes something like this. There was a man and he a farmer, and he was on this land, and he was farming this land, and basically worked the land and could make a living, but never was going to make any real wealth on this land. And I think he was there for maybe, I don't know, just maybe 10 years or something like that, right? And he decided to give up and sell the farm. And he sold the farm to this other man and his family, and they moved in and they started farming the land. But the new owner of the land noticed there was a dried up stream that ran around the edge of the land of his border or boundary or whatever it was. And he was like, oh, I wonder what's in there. And he went in there one day and he was kicking some rocks around, going, oh, what a waste of land. And he kicked this one rock, and it was like one of the biggest diamonds that was ever found in that area. And that day he went and he bought a pickaxe and a shovel, and he started digging in the dry stream bed. And it turned out to be one of the richest finds of raw diamonds that was ever found or discovered in that state. I don't know what the state was in the story. I'd have to listen to it again. And it was like, it's a bit like that. You have to keep going and look for other opportunities where you are, because you never know where you're going to kick a rock and find a diamond or find a new opportunity. So which I think maybe was, your business dropping 50% next year. You already know that, like you said, but I wonder what would happen if you started kicking some other rocks around.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. But again, very surprised that it's not. How to put it in words? It's that it's. I won't say I'm controlling the mind, because I don't think you can do that. But it's like you have this inner force suddenly, which maybe was not there before, or maybe which was what you call it, hidden, So I guess it's good that I've come back to meditation after such a long time.
So how long have you been doing that Nam mantra meditation then? Because you broke up.
Since you told me, I think it's what, a month and a half. So
beautiful. So I tell you why. Because because I had a similar experience yesterday. So we've moved. We're going to rent up here for a year. We live in paradise, by the way. Just had to share that with you. It's pretty amazing. And anyway, we're moving, and in our old apartment, I spent probably, I don't know, 2 weeks repainting it, touching it all up, just so we could get our bond back, right? Which is like $2,000. And I did all this stuff, cleaned all these carpets, got all these specialists in, and I thought, oh yeah, it's perfect, right? So yesterday, the letting agent, or whatever they call, real estate agent, contacts me and says, oh, there's 3 damaged tiles and there's a stain in the carpet that it can't be, that obviously is noticeable. So if you don't get it sorted, you're gonna lose your bond. Okay. And this is through my experience of the Nam mantra. If that would have happened a year ago, I would have lost my shit. My mind, or the mind, would have been running wild with thoughts of, how am I going to solve this? And do you know what happened yesterday? I just sat there. She said that nothing happened. And I went, and in my mind, it wasn't my mind, in my body, the whole feeling I had was, just let it go. It's not important. And that's the first time that's ever happened to me, which is a very beautiful feeling.
So what happened to the bond?
I still don't know, but the bond is irrelevant now. Like, it's irrelevant. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't, because we've manifested this new life, and where I live now, I don't care. It could be 10 grand, and I'm just like, I wake up here, and we're living a beautiful life, and we've only been here a week. But I would like to just maybe question on one thing when you said, oh, you don't know if we can control the mind, or you can't control the mind. Because this is just my experience through that meditation practice that you've been doing, that I've been doing. The mind doesn't control us, because we are no longer the mind. So the mind loses its control, because that mantra connects you with what's beyond the illusion of what the mind creates. So you're actually stepping outside of what the mind has led you to believe is reality, and you're actually connecting with your true self, which is not the mind. But that's great that happened. That's great that that happened. I love it. So you're just calm. You're just calmer, are you?
Very, very, very. I mean, I would say even too calm. You know. So,
Too calm's good, brother. Too calm's good.
You know. So yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. Very energized, also. You know. So I don't know. Let's see what's the next. What's the next step?
And what about your running?
Good. Obviously, I haven't been doing it for last week for reasons which will not be, which you two know, but are not recorded in this video, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good. It's good. And you know, one thing I've started doing, and this is one of the things. You know, I love it when I listen to something and I actually apply it. So I used to run, or whenever I go to a gym, with music. I don't do that anymore. And what I do now is I put audiobooks. And here's the funny part. You actually don't get so tired because you listen to an audiobook. So your mind is actually in the story. So, and it's, you know, when you listen to music, it's like your mind is in your body, you know, I have to do this, blah, blah, blah. But when it's in audio, you're actually so in the story that you're like, already done this much and I haven't even felt it, you know. So I don't know. I would suggest you guys to try that out, you know. So it's very enlightening.
Well, I have to thank you, and Shri, I have to share this story with you. So Manoj, I don't know if you shared a post or you sent me a video, and I've had a lot of issues recently which I've overcome, but I haven't really been training to my full capacity. And I've been doing my yoga, but not really training. And Manoj sent me this video, I think it was about a month ago, and he was sharing about his running and obviously how great he'd been doing it, his running with his extremely beautiful wife that he never told me he had. But that's another story. So he's doing this running and he's doing all, you know, all these PBs, and there was something in this video he said, and it was like, you know, my thing used to be swimming. I used to be able to swim 2Ks easily, but running is completely different because I have to really, I can't remember exact words you use, language. And for some reason we've moved here, right? And I thought about this the other day because I'm trying to, you know, not trying to, Nick, Yoda, I am acting to lose a few extra kilos I've collected along the way. So, and I thought, you know what, we can drive to the beach here. It's 5 minutes. And I was like, right, I'm going to get out my ocean swimming gear because I used to be able to swim 2Ks in the ocean like it was nothing. And I'm only up to 20 minutes, but I have to thank you for that because that planting, I really miss swimming and I miss ocean swimming. So thank you for that.
That's tough. Ocean swimming is tough, man.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I've
never tried it, but it seems very tough.
Yeah, the waves this morning, they were just like, they just come up and you just, you know, you have to get out past the break. You have to go past the waves. And once you get past the waves, there's calm and sharks. So
we do like this when we're on the boat, all three of us, right? We'll throw Shri out of the boat and see which one catches him first, you know?
Interesting. Talking about boats. Okay, Shri, you know everything happens for a reason. And you chose that name, right? Because of a book that you had read. Boats. So
3 men in a boat.
Halfway across the world. So long story short, so we've manifested on my vision board and through my meditation, I've manifested living in a place exactly where I wanted to live. And in the ocean, it's about half a mile out. There's this island called it's Majimba. The beach is called Majimba, and we live 5 minutes from it. And there's this island, and I've never experienced this before, but this island is calling me. It's like I look at it, and I've been visualizing it for over 3 years, and this island's calling me. And I went to the lifeguard the other day, and I was like, obviously I didn't tell him the island was calling me because he'd probably think I was a crazy man. And I said, what's the best way to get out there? I said, I want to go around the island. He said, mate, he said, there's nothing on there. I said, no, I know that, but I want to go. And he said, oh, the surf is great there, and you can get out there on that. And I said, not really my thing on a surfboard. And he said, oh, why don't you hire a boat and go out to this island? So that just reminded me of that. So that's definitely on my agenda to do in the next month or so, is to go out and probably meditate on that island and see what messages it has for me.
You know, Nick, it's amazing you say that. It reminds me of a very interesting story from India. I reckon the chances are you would have heard of this name called Swami Vivekananda.
Yes, sure, Swami Vivekananda. Yeah.
So there is a story similar to that, what you just mentioned. So he was on his, trek throughout India, and he reached the southernmost tip of the peninsula, the main land. And about half a mile into the tri-junction between the Arabian Sea, the Bay of Bengal, and the Indian Ocean, there is a rocky island there.
Okay.
He swam across the high choppy seas. And if you ever go to this place called Kanyakumari, which is the tip of southern India, you'll see the sea is always rough there, and very deep. And he swam across that, and he went on to that rock and sat in meditation for a number of days. And then he swam back, and he came back a transformed man. So that's the story I remembered when you said you want to go to that island. You want to go to that island, and
but that's exactly what's the only. I don't know if you can see actually. Let me see if I can show you. Can you see if I pull back your mobile to see him? So
yes, Ramana Maharshi.
So Ramana Maharshi, right? And I am a very strong devotee of Ramana Maharshi in my practice. And he talks about he went to Arunachala, and he went to the mountain, and he said that was all he ever needed. And this island has called me. I first came here 5 years ago, right? And it's called me ever since. And I stand there. I've stood there every morning after my swim, and I just say, I'm here. Let's do it. And I go to work. So I drive to work all the way on this motorway, and I can walk up this pathway, and I get to the top of the pathway, and what do you think I can see in the distance? I can see that the island. So Shri, after that story, I'm going out to that island to meditate. So thank you for sharing that.
You do go for that. And in fact, I've been to Kanyakumari a number of times, and it's a beautiful place to be, because it's in the same spot where you can see the sunrise. And in the evening, just about 2 kilometers, if you walk from there to the west, you see the sunset also. And you can see the 3 oceans. Actually, you can see the difference in the water there.
Wow, that must be an incredible place. Like you can just sense the energy just talking about it.
Absolutely. It's awesome.
You said 3 oceans? 3 oceans? 2 oceans?
Yeah. So 3 seas, the Arabian Sea on the west, the Indian Ocean towards the south, and the Bay of Bengal towards the east.
And you can see the waters mixing.
And you can see the difference in the water pattern there. You can see, if you in fact, there is a
that's
lighthouse there, and there's also something called as a Gandhi Mandap, so where there's a memorial that's built to Mahatma Gandhi, and it's like a pyre or something where you can climb on the top, and if you see down from there in the evening when the sun is setting or so, or even in the early morning, when you see it from the hotel balcony, you can see the difference in the water, the nature of the water there.
That's incredible.
And the best part is, it's one amazing place, Nick and Manoj, where you will see the mountains, the sea, and the land, all in close proximity. So if you turn towards your back, you will see the last of the high mountains of the Western Ghats. Western Ghats is a mountain series in India, which runs along the western coast and ends at Kanyakumari. And you can see them, the jagged peaks of that. So if you turn to the back, you have these mountains. If you turn to the front, you've got the 3 seas, and sunrise on the east and sunset on the west. And it's an amazing sight to be there. And of course, today, these days now, you can go to that Vivekananda. It's called the Vivekananda Rock now, and you can go there on a boat, a steamboat or whatever. and you can go around, walk the whole place there, and you can see the waves crashing like crazy on the rock there, and the rock has stood solid there.
Wow, I cannot wait, Sri, when at some point in the future, when hopefully we can all come and experience that
and rescue you from the island, right?
Love you for that, Manoj. Love you. But I must say this, Nick. I must say this. Because I've always believed in, like you said, things happen for a reason. It's just that you don't see it yet. And Manoj would say this. In the last edition of the Week Air newsletter, I wrote a story where I picked on from Steve Jobs' quote, where he talks about connecting the dots. He says you can't connect them going forward. You can do it backward. And I wrote a story around that. And I've always believed in that. Things are only getting unveiled as you go along.
Yeah.
And sometimes in my lowest moments, I ask two questions to myself. And the question is, what is this inviting me to be, do, have, and become? And the second thing is, what is right about this that I'm not getting right now? And with that, I'm able to delay the closure of the circuit and come to a judgment. And that, in a way, keeps my mind open again, however short a duration it might be. And then I go through the process again. But here is something interesting I want to share with you, Nick. I really look forward to the day when you both can come along. And Manoj, I don't know about your interest in this, but if you love such a trip, the three of us will have a great time.
He's coming. He just doesn't know it yet.
Yeah. He's not seeing the dots.
He's coming. He just doesn't know yet.
He can't see the dots connecting forward yet.
No, I was going to tell you what I tell my wife always. Are you asking me or are you telling me?
Yeah.
We're telling you.
So I thought I was asking you, and Nick is saying he's telling you. Now I joined with Nick, and both of us are telling you. But guess what, Nick? I think one of the reasons why I love this monthly catch-up that we have is for all the surprises and the miracles that happen in this call. When you shifted your head back and you showed me Ramana Maharshi's photograph in the back, I'm not much of a religious person at all, but I'm very deeply spiritual. And one thing that has always called me out in the last 10, 12 years, Nick, guess what? This calling of the Mount Arunachala calling me to come there and do the go around there and spend my time there. And all these 12 years, I've never been able to, create the opportunity to find the time to go there. But I think if the three of us are meant to go there together, so be it.
I would, Sri, I am Arunachala. I will visit it because I'm drawn to do that. The studies I've done of Ramana Maharshi. Well, it's interesting, you connect the dots. I have to tell you something though, because you'll love this, and I love the synchronicities. Do you know my favorite story, which I tell to all my clients when I'm training and coaching, generally? I start with my favorite stories. Steve Jobs says, you can't write your life story. You can only get to the end and look back at the dots and see how it all connected. So and I love the fact you shared that story. So thank you. But, and I love that story. And it's interesting because and look, I suppose Ramana Maharshi, I was had the experience of, I don't share this with many people, but I've had the experience of him. I've had his presence with me, not all the time, but I went for a period of about 2 weeks when I was doubting my Vedanta practice, and he came to me and just sat, and I could just sense his presence. And I would only have ever discovered Ramana Maharshi, or I wouldn't have discovered Ramana Maharshi, should I say, without first connecting to Nisargadatta's work and Vivekananda and all these different spiritual sages, because I am the same as you. I'm not really religious, but I am deeply spiritual. So it would be an honor and a pleasure to be able to go there, the three of us, to walk around there and go and sit where he sat and meditate. That would be a true blessing in life.
Yeah. And Manoj, just for you, his favorite pastime, Ramana Maharshi's favorite pastime, used to be playing marbles with children there.
Wow.
That's what he enjoyed the most. People would come and flock to see him, and the thing that he would enjoy the most is to play marbles with kids there.
I haven't actually read up on him or know much about him. Definitely have a look at it. And by the way, that reminds me, guys. Sorry, I haven't been able to do the podcast channel yet. I mean, it's just totally forgot.
All in good time.
It's fine.
All in good time.
It will happen. It will happen when it's meant to. And yeah, and dude, like I just love. I know we record these calls. This is just my personal opinion on it. I just love hanging out with you guys and just seeing where the conversation goes.
Absolutely.
It's.
I'm just still stuck at the logistics of rescuing you from the island. Man.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll Manoj, let me tell you, I will share this with you. I've been doing that practice now that you've been doing for a month. I've been doing that now for 21 months or something like that. Yeah, no, 20 months. I've been doing it for 20 months. And my life has changed so much. It's an incredible thing to do on a daily basis. So good on you.
Thank you. What's the situation in Delhi now, Shri? I mean, are people now, like, are there events, or are you still doing all your training and everything online?
All online.
Nothing has changed in the last months?
No. In fact, there's been an increase in the number of cases here for two reasons. One, the Delhi state government has increased the testing. So they've gone all out to try and get as many people tested as possible. Though the percentage of positive cases is only hovering around 15.3 for every 100 cases they do. But yet, if you look at the overall numbers, there's been an increase. And secondly, what has also happened is, people are less cautious now, and they've begun throwing caution to the winds. And we had the Diwali weekend last Saturday, and I had to go out into the market to buy a particular utensil my mother needed, and I thought it's not wise to delay it. And what greeted me, my eyes, was actually a sight of shock. It was as if the whole place was out on the streets, on Diwali afternoon. For shopping, for last minute shopping and all that. And I had a 5-layer mask around my mouth and try and go and get it and get home as quickly as possible. So since Saturday, I've not been out into the market. So I don't know what the current situation is, but Diwali here, just like Christmas in other places, is a busy time of the year with people out for shopping and everything. So.
And how are you handling yourself personally, the fact that, because you guys have been at home now since March?
Yeah.
So that's
a long time.
Yeah.
Is it like you got used to it now, or are you still? Because I mean, we need social contact, right?
We do. And what I would say for that, it's peculiar, Manoj. I would say I'm a very, if you look at my DMIT report, I'm a highly interpersonal person. However, if you look at from my strengths, Clifton strengths angle, I'm also a relator. So I'm not a woo. So woo are people who go wide out. Relators go select, few, and deep. So in that sense, in terms of my socialization or social connect, what's working well for me and keeping me supported is this monthly call I have with both of you. And there are a few select friends of mine, and we are in regular touch. So there are 2 of my classmates from school, and we catch up every once in a while, and we make this plan that as soon as the lockdown is lifted. Now, Nick and Manoj, I don't know if you know of this story from India called the Malgudi Days by any chance? Have you heard by any distance?
No.
Okay.
No.
So one of India's famous, writers is a gentleman named R.K. Narayan. And I think the English author, Graham Greene, was his, introducer to the Western world. And Manoj, if you are by any chance interested in Hindi films, one of the most beautiful Hindi films that ever came out in 1965 or so was a Devanand and Wahida Rahman starrer film, The Guide.
Yeah, yeah,
and so Guide is based on R.K. Narayan's book called The Guide. So it's a make of that film. So R.K. Narayan wrote this story called Malgudi Days. So it's about a series of people in a fictional town in Karnataka, south of India, called Malgudi. Now Malgudi doesn't exist on the map, but he wrote the story sometime in the 50s or 60s, and it is actually part of the Indian folklore. And there was a television serial that came out in the late 80s called the Malgudi Days. And we kids who were growing up in the 80s, so the 80s kids of India are hard sold on Malgudi Days. So, and the opening tune and all that goes, I used to have that as a caller tune on my phone, as a ringtone on my phone, that signature tune of that serial. And it was actually shot in a town called Agumbe in Karnataka, which was actually a place in the middle of nowhere back then. But because Malgudi Days got shot there, it is now very famous, and there is an old heritage home that is now acting as a place like a motel where you can go and stay and you can have heritage walks. And so these two friends and I, we always entertain ourselves by saying that the moment the lockdown is lifted, we're going to go to Malgudi Days. So the three of us are also guys who are highly drunk upon nostalgia. So old world charm and things like that, really get us going. So those are the kind of plans we make, and so looking forward to that impending trip in a way kind of keeps us enthused, is how I would put that. And I do have occasional chats with my friends, call them up once in a while, and we talk to them. I got a call from a senior friend of mine yesterday. We spoke. So we get along well that way, but I'm also a travel bug. But the kind of travel I like to have is where I go off all by myself to a mountain or to, a forest where there is a river passing by. And if there is a cottage, I can be there quietly for the next 2 weeks, or by the banks of the river Ganga in Rishikesh for 2 weeks. And that brings out the best in me. So,
wow.
So looking forward to those kind of trips. And I must say one thing, Nick, I forgot this. Earlier, when you're talking of that island, and when you're talking about, you can see that on your drive to the work. I don't know if I've shared this before or not, but I seem to have a deja vu connection with certain places in the world. So there are a few places in India. So one of them is Calcutta. I don't know why, but Calcutta and Bengal, the state of Bengal, have a deja vu connection for me. And another place in the world where I again have a deja vu connection is England, and especially Victorian era England. Yeah. And so Cornwall, I've never been to Cornwall, but I've heard a lot and I've seen pictures of the beaches or the cliffs from Cornwall. Yeah. And I've always imagined that once in a while I'll go to Cornwall and get to stay in a cottage there, on a windswept cottage, and every morning take my walk to the cliff and look down on the sea, on the Atlantic Ocean, and then come back and have my breakfast and meditate for quite some time, and then write down whatever comes out of my meditation, and be there in that quiet solitude for some time, and then come back. And especially, I should say this, especially after I watched Sherlock Holmes episode on the Devil's Foot, which was shot in that area.
Sherlock Holmes.
Since that
it's
time,
beautiful. It's a beautiful part of the country, but it's very cold, unfortunately. Most of the year. You get about 3 weeks of good weather, and then it's very cold. And Sri, I'm just curious to follow on from Manoj's question then. So what is the Indian government doing to try and control COVID and obviously get out of lockdown? Is there any sort of sight in the future, or can you see that happening in the next couple of months? Or
well, I think I'll have to find a different person for you to ask this question, for a simple reason. I don't watch news channels at all.
Okay, that's good.
I don't read newspapers either, so I really don't know what's going on up there. So it just so happens that currently I'm staying at my in-laws' place. My in-laws are in Kerala, and we have better internet connectivity here. And my parents have come and they're staying at my home, which is about 500 meters from here. And my father can't live without news and a newspaper. So the only reason I got to know of the 15% detection rate was because I saw it in a newspaper that was like in his place about 2-3 days ago. Otherwise, I don't know much about what's really happening, and I consciously stay away from news.
And I'm curious, is Kerala a smaller population, or?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's one of the smaller states in the country.
Yep.
Smaller population, but very high population density, because so it's like it has, let's say, the same population density as a country like England would have.
Okay. All right.
The population and a smaller space to be in. So that's how it is in Kerala.
Okay. Well, I wish for you it finishes quickly.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, you don't watch the news, you don't watch TV?
No, I don't either.
So what, you reach home at what, at 7, 8, and then just what do you do till you go to sleep? I mean, I know, Nick, you must be busy. You must be busy with your daughter, right?
Well, I've had an interesting experience with this. I started a new job, so I do 3 days for this company, and then the rest of the time I do my coaching and training. And my job is I recruit for data analytics specialists right across Australia. And generally the hours are 8 a.m. till 6:30 p.m. And I've done that for many years, for too long. So this job, I start at 8:30. Okay, it's a 16-minute commute to the office. And on my first day there, at 5 to 5, they just said, okay, come on. And I was like, and I looked around and I said, what do you mean, come on? They said, that's it. So we finish at 5 p.m. So I get home here by 5:15. I can sit and spend some time with my daughter and my partner. And it's changed everything, Manoj. I get, because I don't have to leave here until 8:05. I get up at 10 to 5. I do my meditation. I do my yoga at 6 o'clock. I get a full 2 hours with my daughter in the morning and on the evening.
Oh, shit, that reminds me, you do yoga. Oh God, I tried yoga the other day. I'm talking a week back. I went to this. I tell you, I went to this. It was a 4-hour improvisation theater mixed with yoga, right?
4 hours, you'd be exhausted.
Yeah, no. So it was 3 hours the improvisation theater, and 1 hour was yoga, because yoga and improvisation has got certain relaxation techniques.
Yep.
Damn, I was sweating like a pig. I mean, it seems so easy, but I'm telling you, I mean, I was like, shit, I would really get my act. I mean, just to keep your the flexibility in itself, just to maintain that for like 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds, whatever. It's damn tough, man. So it sounds, I mean, it looks very easy, but it's.
I'll send you some. I use an app called Glow, and you can share it. You can share 4 sessions a month. I'll share you. I've really been drawn to do Ashtanga yoga at the moment, which I'm finding quite challenging, but it's good. But to go back to answer your original question, I get home from work, spend some time with my daughter, bath her, put her to bed, meditate, and I read. And that's about it. Shri, what do you do?
So there's been I would say, a disruption in my routine, which I had built over the last many months, over the last few weeks, because when I came down with a bad case of cold and cough, and the medication would keep me drowsy. And my mother went through a cataract surgery about 2.5 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, and then her cough worsened. So, and then my cough relapsed. So because of that, there were a lot of disruptions and me going back and forth between these two houses. But like I've said before, I've been ready by 9 in the morning, usually with my bath and shave and everything. And during my shave is when I listen to some interesting interviews or some interesting let's say podcasts, or and one interesting hobby I have is I listen to a poet from India. He's also a lyricist in the Hindi film industry. His name is Charvet. And he has some very fascinating things to talk about, legends from the Hindi movie industry. So these unknown facets about them, he digs up, and he talks extempo. He talks extempo as if he lived with them. He saw them up close in front and all. So I listen to that at times. And when I'm taking my bath, I listen to songs. And the moment I'm out, I have my breakfast and all, and then I get on with my work. And I usually have this Ho'oponopono, meditation chant going on in my earphone, and that helps me stay concentrated on my job. And that also kind of keeps me calm. So even if there are some, let's say, challenging issues going on in life, it helps me kind of, redirect and refocus to what is really wiser and important to do. So I do that, and then I get on with my work or my training programs, and then I have a break for lunch, read for some time, and then continue with my work till about 6 in the evening. And by that time, my wife would be back home. We have a bit of a chat and all, and then I finish there'll always be some miscellaneous stuff to do. And then I go over to my parents' place and I watch some funny videos on mobile for sure. I love to have a good laugh, and anything that I can use to laugh, I would do that. And off late, I've been trying to watch, hysterical laughter of babies.
Oh, okay. That would be infectious.
Absolutely. So
that
I posted one.
Infectious.
I posted one last night on Facebook, and I said, consider this to be my Diwali wish for everyone, because the kind of light and sound you get from this is more healthy and something I believe which will expand everyone's heart and would allow us to be in that space more than all the crackers and the other lights stuff put together. So I do that. Sometimes I read a bit. And yeah, I've also been trying to do something. So there's this gentleman whose name was Dr. Marshall Rosenberg. I think, Manoj, you and I would have spoken about him in our earlier coaching work when we talked about the nonviolent communication model, right? So he has come out with some interesting series of books. In fact, and there are some booklets that I've got reprinted in India now. And every night I try and read a few pages from his work. So this was something I was reading day before yesterday, Being Me, Loving You. And the subtitle is For Spouses, Partners, Family and Friends, a practical guide to extraordinary relationships. So what he does is he explains the NVC model in the context of relationships, and primarily through a Q&A session that happened across all his training programs. Then another booklet that's got reprinted it says We Can Work It Out. And resolving conflicts peacefully and powerfully. And then I have one which is now at my parents' home. It's called Getting Past the Pain Between Us. So resolving conflicts without compromising. That's the subtitle. And then this is something I'm looking forward to reading, Raising Children Compassionately. So I would read a few,
Sorry.
So I would read a few pages of this every night, and then reflect on it and go off to bed, and then get up in the morning. And from today, I've been able to restart some of my routines. So in the morning, I was able to do about 20 minutes of cross leg stretches for my lower back. Do the hold the stand. What do you call it? The stand, or what? When you are there on your elbows. The plank.
Yeah, plank. Yep.
Yeah. So I was able to do it for 2 rounds, and then also did 20 minutes of Ho'oponopono meditation in the morning. So from today, I'm beginning to revive my whole routine now. Yeah, and I think in a week's time, I should be able to go for my morning walks also, because the pollution levels would have settled in by that time.
I still remember from when we did the NLP, the meta models. Remember, you did in the masters, you did the class, right? When
meta
you told
programs.
us the story about when you told us the story about you being all about specifics and your wife about generalists. I mean, that was such a funny story. And you won't believe, I've got it like written down somewhere to use it in any of my coming storytelling. I've got it there, to give an example about specifics and generalists, right? So that was, and of course Nick wasn't there, but basically what Shelly was explaining to us was a difference in meta models, right? About how
with the
his
meta
wife
programs,
would, how his wife would tell him, I don't know, get this, and he would be where, and she's like there, and he's like specifically where, blah blah blah, and she would get like really like pumped up, So when you showed the book of the nonviolent relationship, that is what.
But it's really interesting that and again, I love these synchronicities. So I did my first ever couples NLP session, relationship session last night. I've done it before, but not without knowing the level of NLP I know now. And the really interesting fact, which I found incredible, is I asked them both to do, I have a representational test that I send out to all my clients before I work with them, obviously, just so I could go to their bus stop. And they sent it back, and he was 38, came back 38 ID, right? And she was 39 kinesthetic. Right? Yeah, I know. And they sent that, and they've been married. They've been married for 10 years.
Oh God.
Right?
Oh God.
And they're beautiful people. They're beautiful. They've been married for 10 years, and have a family. And I was like, what we know, like it blew my mind. I was like, just by them knowing that and how to adjust for each other's and compensate for that, it's phenomenal, isn't it? Just a basic little thing. And I'm actually doing meta programs with them. I'm going to do a meta program, 2 sessions of meta programs, but I think it's incredible.
So how did that happen? I mean, how does a couple come saying they want to go through NLP? I mean, they don't know they're going through NLP, right?
Well, no, what happened? So they went to see a counselor, and the counselor said it was going to cost them $3,000. Right. And I've done some healing and talked to her around healing and her spiritual journey. So I've been supporting her free support through her spiritual journey. And I know we're sort of connected through another NLP trainer, and she contacted me and she said, right, we would like to do some we'd like to do some communications work to be able to communicate better. What would you charge? And I said, well, because I know you, we'll just do it $180. I said, I'll charge you $1,800. But we'll do some one-on-ones as well. And she said, yep, that's fine. We'll do that. Spoke to him. He was happy. And I just feel like just by giving them that, if they didn't do any other sessions, just by them knowing that the huge, and I said to them, I said, you are coming from you're like the extreme worlds apart. That's where you're coming from, and there's no wonder why there's conflict.
But that's wonderful that the couple actually agreed to do that, because many couples, I mean, in my case, for example, I mean, my wife would never go through, I mean, she doesn't believe in all this, NLP and this and that. I mean, that's perfectly fine, right? But what I'm trying to say is that many couples, it's very difficult for them to think in those terms. Like, okay, this NLP or meta models, blah 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 blah, which of course they don't know the terminology is actually going to help them, right? So that's wonderful.
But it's like I said to them, and I say this, it's like, we took a bit of a while. There was a few hurdles to get to last night that we had to overcome, but we got there. And like I said to them, just by being here means you're willing to change. And just by them knowing that, the language to use to connect with each other. And I just think it's phenomenal. And Shri, that's the parenting book. My partner Jacinda reads on compassionate parenting, but she's done a lot more. It's how to empower your child without them being in control and spoil. And I think that's another wonderful gift we can share as coaches and trainers to parents.
Absolutely.
I think it's really important.
Absolutely, I would agree. And I must share this with you, Manoj, because now you're a closer part of the Mind Matrix Wellness family. So the next time I get invited to do the master's program in NLP for Mind Matrix, I've decided to change the way I would be teaching meta programs. And the reason is this, so I got a new client last month, and we had a 5-module program on feedback skills. And I was never happy with the traditional feedback skills program models or the designs that existed. So I kind of changed it a lot, redesigned it. And there was a huge component of NLP and, strengths-based approach to feedback and the nonviolent communication model, the Schultz-Fonthun model, all put in there. And what happened is I looked at the meta programs and picked the ones that were relevant in the context of, let's say, feedback specifically, right? When you have to give a feedback, or if you have to process a feedback you're getting from someone, how do you really understand what the message is and where is this coming from, or why is it taking a particular shape it is taking from person X or Y? And so in that, I had to teach meta programs. And mind you, I have to teach meta programs without having even gone into NLP, so to speak. Right? Because NLP in itself is as vast and deep as the Pacific Ocean, the North and the South combined.
Yeah.
So you know, I figured out, I was experimenting with it, and I figured out an interesting way out. I started first. So in module 2, I taught them about the basic NLP communication model, where we talk about the filters, the memories, and internal representations and all that. And I gave them some homework to go back and connect it with what really happened in some feedback communication and see where were the gaps or what they were going to factor in going forward. And then when they came back, in module 3, and 4, which is primarily about where you give feedback and you receive feedback, is where I introduced the meta programs part. And the meta programs I picked were moving towards or away from, necessity and possibility, then matcher and mismatcher. And I think there were 2 more. Sorting by self and sorting by others. I think there was one more which I don't remember now. Now I was like, how do I introduce this? And we have a short span of time in which to do it. So I had to get a brainwave, and I did that. I taught them that with stories of 2 of my classmates from school. Okay. So I took them through their real life stories. And then at the end of it, I introduced these 5 meta programs. And thankfully, I found a link to an article where the person had spoken only about these 5 meta programs. So I found the infographic from there. I quoted the source, took the infographic, and I revealed each one of them one by one. And after I had told the story and taken them through what these meta programs meant, I said, okay, now you connect it with the stories and tell me that so far as my friend number 1 was concerned, what do you think his meta program permutation combination was? And guess what? 100 out of 100 of them got my first friend's meta program correct. And so was the case for the second friend of mine, who now lives in London. And I said, now you make the connection in terms of how are you going to use this information going forward when you have to construct a particular feedback or redirected feedback for each of your team members. And I said, it really makes sense. And so then what I decided, Manoj, was that the next time I get to teach NLP meta programs, I'm going to follow the same pattern, use these 2 stories of my friends and those 5 meta programs to start with, because it makes it so simple. And I was personally surprised that with those 2 stories, there were supposed to be 90 of them, but I think we roughly had about 70 project managers across 3 batches. They all got the concept of meta programs. And how to identify, based on how you listen to people and how you look for patterns in their speech and patterns in their behavior. How do you therefore begin to figure out their broad meta program patterns?
See, this is why I love these conversations, Sri, because that is what I teach and train and coach in business. So I got a question for you as well, because everything happens for a reason, right?
Yeah.
So I have you ever heard of Shelly Charvet?
I'm not sure.
You should look at her. You would love her work. So I did her.
I'll just note down her name if you could.
If you love meta programs, you will love her work. So I did her coaching certificate, which is basically it's lab profiling. It's language and behavioral profiling, and it's all based on meta programs. And I've done that, and I train that, and I coach that in one-on-one sessions and in group sessions to the banks. But she's partnered with this guy, and I'm sort of, is that us nearly out of time? She's partnered with this guy, and they've created this platform, all right? And they're doing a training next year, and it's something I really feel drawn to do, because I'm very passionate about meta programs, as you will know, Manoj. I love them. They're in everything that I do. So anyway, this program, and they're pitching this program, and I'm like, okay, what's the program? And he said, well, for $6,000 US, you get access to this platform for a year, and there's all video segments, training video segments that, so say you're doing towards and away from, there'll be a segment on that, and they get, and you can brand it as your own, so the content, but obviously Shelly Charvet is mainly in the content. So you can brand it and you can sell it as your own. And it's like little 3 to 5 minute segments, which they can watch before they go into a meeting or before they want to do something. they can watch the video, but they also get a certification to say that, you know, they've gone through that process of meta programs. And it also means that I would be an accredited trainer for Shelly Rose Charvet's products, all meta program related. And the part of me who didn't want to spend any more money on training, just wanted to do my own thing, is now curious. And I know you love meta programs, so I just wanted to get your opinion. Do you think that would be a worthwhile investment from a business? Because I haven't got the time or inclination at the moment to create the videos. I know I could create them myself, but I haven't got the time. And they literally give you all the material, you rebrand it as your own, and it's $6,000. So they train you over 9 days to become a trainer, and then every year it's a recurring fee of $2,000 US for the whole platform. And you can upload your own training videos and everything else, and it's web and app based as well.
So I think, Nick, from whatever little I sense about you, you know, the kind of work and the scale at which you do, it makes sense for you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. No, that's good, because I'm, you know, when you're there, because we've just moved, I've just had to buy a new car, and I'm like, okay, I need to rebuild my cash reserves, and obviously I have to justify that to my partner as well, you know. But thank you for that, Sri.
But let me add a rider here, Nick.
Yeah.
If it was me, if I was to decide for me, I would not have decided so, because I operate in a very different way. You know, and when it comes to, let's say, paid learning, I know what my habit patterns are.
Okay.
You know, so I learn in a very random way. Focused, I mean, in terms of being selective, but I learn in a very random way. So if I were to show you my YouTube, you know, on my phone, there are about 104 videos that I have kind of saved in there for watching later on. And, you know, I would watch them randomly. So for 2 days or 3 days, I might be watching Simon Sinek. Then I'll go off to watch some, you know, movie interviews. And then I'll go off to watch, let's say, Professor Robert Cialdini on influence and persuasion. Then I might go off to Dan Ariely, and then come back to, you know, Simon Sinek. So I'm very random in that sense. And that's a habit pattern I've never been able to cure myself of. And I find it's okay. And so even, you know, it's going to be close to 3 years now since I registered online with Mind Valley for a course in coaching by Michael Neal. And he's one coach I truly resonate with. And yet I would say I've completed only 3 episodes of his program.
Okay.
Right. So I learn in a very random way, in a very long stretched way. So I wouldn't recommend it for myself, but knowing whatever I sense about you and the way you work, or the objectives you have, I think you'll be stayed, put in it, invested in it, and, you know, clear through that.
Thank you, Sri. And I love this, guys. Do you know, if we watch this back, I would say there was at least 7 synchronicities, or maybe 8 synchronicities, that came out of this one conversation. Isn't it incredible?
Yes.
And the learning is just it's incredible, and I've never seen Manoj smile so much.
Yeah, because, you know, it's all because, Nick, it's all because of the man who's farthest from you in terms of distance. That's closest to you in terms of heart. It was all Manoj's idea. It was all Manoj's idea.
It's all because of what we spoke before the recording started, you know.
All right, beautiful people. Listen, thank you so much, and we're all good. We're all good to. Oh, that's going to be December the 17th. Is that going to be okay for everyone?
I guess so. Yes.
It's good.
So
it's
far,
good
no
for me.
issues for me.
Yeah.
So
okay. All right. Bless, gentlemen. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.